Have you ever stopped to wonder where the food on your table really came from? Of course, many of the items you would be aware of, but here I'm talking about those specific food items that dominated different eras. Every bite you take has a backstory, and some of them are weirder, trendier, and tastier than you could expect. In today's video, we are covering the history of the origin of every food item that was king of its time. From Cold War casseroles to power lunches and sushi becoming mainstream, every decade had that one food moment that changed the game. Although it was not always pretty, it was surely unforgettable. And now let's flip through the food fads and find out what your parents, and probably your favorite celebs, were obsessed with eating. These are the foods that defined every decade, from the 1950s to the 21st century. And trust me, you're about to get very nostalgic and maybe a little hungry too. The 1950s were all about order, prosperity, and practicality, and that was reflected on the dinner table. Leading the charge? The TV dinner. It was not just a meal, it was a revolution on a tray. Introduced in the early 1950s by Swanson, the TV dinner came in a shiny aluminum tray with neat little compartments, each holding something warm, comforting, and ready in minutes. It was a frozen convenience made for a nation newly obsessed with television. Families no longer had to gather at the dining table. They could eat while watching The Ed Sullivan Show or I Love Lucy right from their living room sofas. Coming up, we have the almighty Jell-O salad. Think about lime gelatin with canned pineapple and shredded carrots, or the mayonnaise. Just think about it. These colorful, wobbly creations were equal parts culinary creativity and kitchen horror. Also, shout out to the tuna noodle casserole, which was cheap, easy, and loaded with canned soup. It was a weeknight hero in households across America. Honestly, if it didn't come from a can or mold, was it even a 1950s dish? Then came the 60s era, when people were groovy, global, and ready to entertain. Then came the cheese fondue, which was a pot of molten Swiss cheese and white wine with skewers for everyone. It was not just dinner, it was an event. Friends gathered around the pot, dipping in, chatting, and trying not to drop their food. It was cozy, fun, and just fancy enough to feel special. And then there is the gelatin mold renaissance. It didn't die in the 50s, it evolved. Now we are talking shrimp encased in aspic. Was it pretty? Yes. Was it tasty? You tell me. Oh, and Swedish meatballs made their way into cocktail parties. Pop them on a toothpick, drown them in brown sauce, and you're instantly classy. In the 60s, your party was incomplete unless something was stabbed with a toothpick. Now we are into the 70s and things are getting a little crunchy, a little gourmet, and a lot experimental. Say hello to quiche Lorraine. This savory tart became a go-to for brunch and dinner alike. Here is the bonus tip. It made you sound fancy when you said it with a faux French accent. Another staple, the crock pot stew. The slow cooker became a kitchen superstar in the 70s. You could toss in meat, veggies, and some broth in the morning. By dinner time, you would have a warm, comforting meal ready. No stirring, no fuss, just set it and forget it. This was perfect for busy days or just kicking back in your bell-bottoms while dinner made itself. And let's not forget carrot cake, loaded with walnuts, topped with rich cream cheese frosting. It was dessert, but it had vegetables. So healthy. And on the more adventurous side, fondue got a sequel in the form of chocolate fondue, which meant dippable strawberries, and everybody loved them. If you had a fondue set in the 70s, you were a national rock star. Then came the 80s. Big hair, bigger shoulder pads, and bold new flavors. The food was equally bold. First up, we have sushi, which was once considered exotic. It became a full-blown obsession, starting with the friendly California roll, then evolving into sashimi, nigiri, and even sushi burritos. Yes, those existed. Then came the trend of blackening everything. Blackened chicken, blackened fish, even blackened tofu. This style came from Cajun cooking, where you coat food in spices and cook it in a super hot pan until it gets a dark, crispy crust. It was spicy, smoky, and packed with flavor. Cajun food was hot, like burn your tongue hot, and super popular. If it was not a little charred, were you even doing the 80s right? The 80s also introduced the microwave revolution. A very common example of that time is microwave popcorn, TV dinners 2.0, and even microwave mug cakes, which made their debut in dorms and kitchens alike. And don't forget pasta salad, which is typically cold, mayo-heavy, and often confusingly tri-colored. It showed up at every backyard barbecue, whether you liked it or not. Sushi said, "I'm refined." Pasta salad said, "I'm just here for the potato chips." The 90s were weird in the best way. The food was enjoyable, even if it wasn't always nutritious. For example, if you take Lunchables, such as tiny crackers, processed cheese, and cold cuts, lunch suddenly becomes a DIY charcuterie board for kids. The snack scene exploded with Dunkaroos, Gushers, and Bagel Bites. If you could eat it in front of a Saturday morning cartoon, it was the 90s. On the healthy side, people were guzzling Snackwell's cookies, low-fat, high-carb, and deceptively addictive. But the most iconic shift came in the form of bagels and cream cheese, or better yet, bagel sandwiches, because this breakfast on the go was born. And yes, kale started to creep in by the end of the decade, but let's be honest, it wasn't cool yet. 90s food where sugar was a food group and fat-free meant you could eat the entire meal pack. Welcome to the 21st century. A time when food was not just something you ate, but something you styled. People wanted meals that not only tasted good, but also looked good. This was the decade when your lunch could be famous, especially if it got posted online with the perfect filter. One of the biggest stars of that time was cupcakes. Not just any cupcakes, pretty ones. Bakeries like Magnolia and Sprinkles made tiny cakes feel fancy. With tall swirls of frosting, pastel colors, and cute packaging, cupcakes became more than just a dessert. They became Instagrammable. Then came the rise of the now iconic avocado toast, which is simple but made to impress. Mashed avocado on crusty bread, topped with red pepper flakes, a drizzle of olive oil, and maybe a poached egg on top. It was not just breakfast, it was brunch. Next up, smoothie bowls. Think of a smoothie so thick you eat it with a spoon. People would carefully arrange chia seeds, granola, and fresh fruit on top, creating an edible work of art in a bowl. And we can't forget sriracha. This bold, spicy, red-hot sauce became a must-have. By 2008, it was everywhere on eggs, noodles, pizza, and even popcorn. People could not get enough of it. And finally, the frozen yogurt boom. Froyo shops popped up everywhere. Pile it high, add all the toppings, and pretend it was healthy because, well, it wasn't ice cream, right? In those days, your food had to be tasty, trendy, and ready for its close-up. And so, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen, on our trip through time, from the jiggly salads of the 50s to the foodie obsessions of the 21st century. These dishes were not just food items, they were culinary masterpieces. They were cultural snapshots of who we were, what we cared about, and how we saw the future. Now it's your turn. What food defined your decade? Was it something we talked about today, or maybe something unique to your family or culture? Drop it in the comments and let's build our digital cookbook of memories. If you enjoyed this edible history lesson, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your favorite foodie friend, and don't forget to subscribe. We have got more delicious stories coming your way. Thanks for watching. As always, stay curious, stay hungry, and stay nostalgic.